Welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to discuss an interesting take I saw on Reddit the other day. The proposition was to never take a busted player off of your recruiting board. As we all know, once that diamond gets a red X over it, we typically cut that player quicker than you can say goodbye. But what if we had been mistaken this whole time? It has been mentioned that the gem bust system is purely tied to a player's dev trait, so a bust should have normal dev trait more times than not, according to an analysis done by a Reddit user performed in College Football 25. That testing is a little outdated, so I wanted to see how often we actually see that play out here in College Football 26, and if there's anything more to the system than we can see on the surface. As we all know, EA messes up at least one thing each update, and could this be one of those things that has gone unnoticed for this whole time? To start this analysis, I looked at every gem and bust I could find over a 3-year span in recruiting. This totaled to a whopping 80 plus players to look at. Since we are only comparing busts to gems, I decided not to look at a control group of non-affected players. Out of the tested players, I got results for most of them. Interestingly enough, I did get one player who was a top recruit that just didn't commit to anybody, which was really puzzling, but that is a video for another day. Within this group, we got a good sample size of each grouping ranging from 3 stars all the way up to 5-star players, and you can see the breakdown on screen. To test the hypothesis I stated before, we will look at 3 main factors to determine the results. The first will be the breakdown of each type of player in each dev trait group. This should tell us how often we can expect a bust to be above a normal dev trait. Secondly, we will look at the average caps per group to better assess the top threshold of talent we have. This will give us results on the back end so we can better book in our conclusion. And finally, we will look at the average overall for each group to see just how good each player is on day 1. But before we get into the data, I wanted to ask you all, if you find this video interesting or useful, consider subscribing and leaving a like below. We are nearing in on 5,000 subscribers, and each interaction goes a long way with the algorithm to keep pushing these videos out there to the community. But I appreciate you being here regardless, and I hope you enjoy, so let's get into it. Our first test was the dev trait breakdown of each type of player. Performing this test was simple and the results are on screen. The first thing of note is that busts do generally have a lower ceiling than gems do to achieve those elite dev traits. From our tests, we show that 5-star gems have a near 0% chance to be a normal dev, whereas they have a nearly 70% chance to get an elite dev trait. But through this test, we can also see there are 2 obvious outcomes here in my opinion. The first is that 5-star busts in specific perform better than expected, having a 50% chance to be above a normal dev trait and a 1 in 6 chance to be a star. But those 4 and 3-star busts are really bad, with a near 0% chance to have anything other than a normal dev trait. For the second test, I wanted to take a look at the potential max overall a player can achieve in their career. Dev trait is only half the battle, since it's just how fast you progress rather than how highly you can progress in a career. You won't care if a player has elite dev trait if they can't progress past their original overall. In this evaluation, I took all of our players and averaged out the caps we see per player for each group. Of course, this has issues, as some players may have more caps in one area, which may be a bigger limiter to them, such as QBs having more caps in passing rather than IQ. This would seriously limit their max potential overall capability more so than if it was the reverse. After looking into this, I noticed that there is rarely, if ever, more than a 3 cap difference between the highest and second highest capped ability, and on average it was around 2. So for our results, we can see 2 things. The first is that it is clear that the busted player has a significantly more caps than their gem counterparts, but perform better than the tier below them. For example, the 4-star gems have on average 10.7 caps per player, whereas the 5-star has just 10. The same can be said for the 4-star bust having just over 18, whereas a gem 3-star has around 22.5. Secondly, the gap in caps grow as you move down the list, so between the 5-star counterparts it's only 5 caps, but for the 3 stars it's over 11, which is over double the caps. And lastly, we looked at the overall between groups, and this is the section that was most surprising for me during the testing. When we look at the average overall and the discrepancy between the 2 counterparts, the overall change is minimal. For 4 and 5 stars, it is only 1 overall point, and for 3 stars, it grosses just over 2. But again, we notice that the stars that are a tier up, but are busted, perform better than their gem counterparts that are a level below. With 5-star busts having a 2 overall increase over 4-star gems, and 4 stars bust having nearly an 8 total point overall advantage to those 3-star gems. In conclusion, I personally think the original Reddit comment is mostly correct. At this point, you should keep the bust on your board, especially if you have a recruiting advantage over your peers, or your alternative is a lower star player. More times than not, this player will just be slightly worse than regular 5 stars, and slightly better than those 4-star gems you might find. And from my experience, a lot of the CPU teams will ignore busts at first, so you can get a massive lead early on and maybe even commit the player without much fuss. The only true time I think you should auto remove a bust is if they are a 3-star, as those have proven to be very average players, and with the abundance of 3 stars you can find, other options are probably better. Or secondly, if you have the capability of getting a 5-star player in that position, I would go for them instead. But with that, we have seen that busts are not nearly as bad as presented, so I hope you all find this video useful, and I appreciate y'all tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to never miss any college football content in the future, and as always, I'll catch you all in the next one.